In the autumn of 1987, the streets of Portland, Maine grew quiet after 10 p.m. It was a time before the city became a bustling tourist haven. Back then, the downtown area was lined with flickering streetlights and the faint aroma of the sea. Adam Harper, a 27-year-old short-order cook at a small diner, found comfort in the predictability of his nightly routine. A cup of black coffee, a cigarette under the neon glow of the diner sign, and the last bus home, Route 86. But it wasn't just the comfort of the bus ride that drew him back each night, it was her. Every night at precisely 11 p.m., Adam boarded the nearly empty bus. The route was uneventful, winding through dimly lit streets, past darkened storefronts and silent intersections. Yet his eyes would always drift to the last row. That's where she sat, a striking woman in her late 20s with raven black hair cascading over her shoulders. She wore a simple, elegant coat and always gazed out of the window. Their eyes would meet briefly, and she'd offer a faint, almost wistful smile. She never spoke, and Adam never approached. There was an unspoken boundary between them as she seemed unapproachable. Still, he felt inexplicably drawn to her. On October 12th, 1987, it was colder than usual, the kind of chill that seeped into your bones and made the world feel a little lonelier. Adam shivered as he boarded the bus and took his usual seat. His eyes immediately searched for her in the back row. She was there, as always, her presence as enigmatic as ever. The bus moved through the quiet streets. When the bus reached her stop near Monroe Street, she stood, clutching a small leather-bound diary. As she walked down the aisle, the bus jolted over a pothole and the diary slipped from her hands, landing near Adam's seat. "Miss, you dropped this," Adam called, grabbing the diary and rushing to follow her off the bus. She had already disappeared into the night, but Adam caught a glimpse of her turning into a narrow alley. Determined to return the diary, he hurried after her. The alley was darker than it should have been, its shadows unnaturally deep. Adam hesitated at the entrance, his breath visible in the cold night air. "Miss," he called out, his voice echoing faintly. There was no response. He stepped into the alley, the walls seeming to close in around him. The faint flicker of a distant street lamp cast eerie shapes on the ground. Something moved in the corner of his vision, fast, almost imperceptible. His heart pounded as he spun around, but there was nothing there. The air felt heavier, colder. Panic began to rise in his chest. He turned and ran back to the street, nearly stumbling in his haste. When he emerged, the street was deserted. Clutching the diary tightly, Adam walked toward the only sign of life he could see, a nearby pub with a few patrons standing outside. He didn't stop, but felt a small sense of relief knowing he wasn't entirely alone. When Adam finally reached his apartment, he couldn't shake the unease that had settled over him. He sat at his kitchen table, the diary still in his hands. His leather cover was worn, the edges frayed. Against his better judgment, he opened it. On the first page, written in jagged, hurried letters, was a chilling message. "Don't follow me. Stay away from the last stop. Your family will need you tonight." Beneath it was the date, October 12th, 1987. Adam's stomach tightened. He flipped through the diary, finding page after page filled with frantic entries. Most were incoherent, apologies, pleas, and cryptic warnings. But one phrase kept appearing. "The last stop is not for the living." A sudden wave of dread washed over him. His hands trembled as he closed the diary. Just then, the phone rang, the shrill sound slicing through the silence. It was his father's voice on the other end, calm but concerned. "Everything okay, Adam? You sound shaken." Adam tried to brush it off but couldn't stop himself from asking about the family. His father assured him everyone was fine, but the conversation left Adam feeling uneasy. He barely slept that night. At 3 a.m., the phone rang again. This time, it was his mother. His father had suffered a sudden heart attack and was being rushed to the hospital. The warning in the diary replayed in his mind. Your family will need your help. The following night, Adam boarded the bus again, the diary tucked under his arm. He scanned the rows of seats, his heart sinking when he saw that the back row was empty. The woman, who had been a constant in his nightly routine, was gone. He inquired the driver about the women passenger that traveled daily on this route at the same time, but he had never seen the women Adam was talking about. Even yesterday, he felt Adam was talking to himself when he got off the bus, as there was no other passenger in the bus.